Hello everyone, this is Sky. I'm back with another video. Just as you might have experienced in your own lives, my life has been extremely intense, which is why I have been absent for quite a while. So, update. What is happening? That's a very good question. It might seem to many of you that things don't work the way they used to anymore. You don't work the way you used to anymore. The life around you is changing. The world is changing. Everything is collapsing. Hell breaks loose. so, mm, we are in that phase. We are in the middle of the transformational process. Now, that can be likened to shifting gears, and when you shift from one gear to the next, there is a state where there is no gear at all. And that's what we're in right now. So, we are out of the old gear. We're not in the old world anymore, but we're not yet in the new gear. We're in the middle for us as people, as in our lives. And so we're somewhat in a limbo state. This whole transformational process is extremely intense, and it has an effect on our bodies, on our entire nervous system, and it affects us in a whole lot of ways. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on those. So, first of all, the body. How does this affect our bodies? As I have said in a previous video, we are now getting used to very different vibrations than the ones that we have lived in before, and that is like changing altitude. For example, if you change altitude and the oxygen gets thinner, the body reacts completely different, and that's what happens to our bodies right now. Our entire physical system is recalibrated. The vibrations on earth are continuously rising, and the speed is accelerating. So it's going faster than anticipated, was what I was told. And the good news is also that a lot more people are coming along in the shift than was anticipated. So that is very good news. But anyway, so what's happening to our bodies? We our bodies are currently under a lot of stress, and that means that you know might need a lot more rest and a lot more sleep than we usually do. We are much more sensitive to things like substances. For example, we might react different to alcohol. I personally have not been able to drink any alcohol almost at all lately, and we might be a lot more sensitive to lots of people around us because we are very sensitive to energies. The energies travel much faster. We pick up on the energies of everything that's outside of us much easier than before because the vibration is so much higher. So we might not be inclined to be in such big crowds of people anymore, or we might not want to be in crowds of people. Um, and we might feel exhausted a lot of the time, and that's nothing strange. It is a normal part of the process because this is, yeah, it's a completely new condition that we are moving into, that our bodies are not used to. We also might feel emotionally affected, in a way that we are on this roller coaster of feelings, really extreme lows, and then all of a sudden, next day, like everything's fine. I've experienced that. For example, I've been in an extreme low that I haven't known the likes of in a long time. And then next day, all of a sudden, inside my inner sky was blue, the sun was shining, and I was fine. And what's happening is that inside of ourselves, there's this earthquake happening, just like it is, in the whole cosmos right now, where this transformation is occurring, and the transformation that occurs in the cosmos, occurs on Earth, it occurs in each one of our individual lives and in each one of our individual bodies. Um, and when the earth, the soil is plowed so new sprouts can grow, it's all in upheaval, The ground needs to be dug up. So that's what happens when we are in these emotional states, in these very intense emotional states. Um, and then also our lives. There's so much happening in our lives. A lot of our life situations are changing, and we are moving into things that yeah, it just that we don't know, that are unknown ground, um, out of relationships, out of work um, relationships or work situations, like jobs, maybe shift of places, of countries, whatever, Um, so a lot of new beginnings, and that might be very scary, to leave the old. And I have just had this in my life, that I um, felt that something new was coming for me in a particular situation, and I didn't want to go. And I was in so much resistance, and I was like, no, this can't be happening. And I was super scared. I didn't want to leave my old comfort zone where I knew everything, and I just wanted to stay where I was. And the new felt so scary. And so I was like a little child throwing a tantrum and saying to life, "No, you can't do this to me. It's impossible. I'm not going to do this." And um, this made my life extremely hard. And the old situation, though, was pushing me out, and things were getting so bad that I eventually gave in, and I said, okay, I get it. This is not the situation for me anymore. I need to go to the next, do the next step, And the minute I gave in and surrendered and gave up the resistance, all of a sudden I got new ideas. I felt the energy again. I was starting to become excited for the new, and I felt like everything was flowing again. So, um, yeah, um, this new situation that is happening, the new dimension that we're moving into, is also showing itself on every level, also in our lives. It's a movement that's happening for all of us. And excuse me, um, the more we are able to surrender and to relax and to stop the resistance, the easier we will be taken along to the new. And the more we can do that for our own lives, the more we help the situation for everybody else. Because unlike what we've always been told, everything that we work through in our own lives, in our own system, is um, literally changing the earth and the course of things. And that's important now, for everybody to move through this shift easier. Um, the situation around us. We see the structures of the political systems collapse. We see, the industry collapse, and we see the all the wars, the problems that we are always being bombarded with in the news, like uh, climate change and mass migration and all these wars, and it looks very dangerous. Mm, Now, I'm going to say something that may be triggering to people, but I'm going to say it anyway. The material situation is now becoming rather secondary, because what's the most important is our inner condition, because our reality that we do not know anymore, and mm, that is coming back into our consciousness and into our existence, is that we create the outer reality with our inner condition. And that is something that many of us might know, but still not really live by, and still we feel victims to situations and conditions that we find ourselves in, and we blame somebody else outside of ourselves. Now, this, on the long run, cannot be practiced anymore. So, more practically speaking, when we move into this new density that we're in the course of doing, the material reality is going to play in very different rules, or basically is not going to exist the same way that we know it. And the limits that material reality poses in our surroundings are not going to be there anymore. So the material reality is not going to affect us in the same way that it did before. So, um, what is happening now with the um, way that we are being played out against each other through the bombardment with news that we're receiving every day, is that we are being pinned up against each other and being played against each other, because everything becomes extremely polarized on the political stage, and there are people in extremely opposite directions, and we identify with either one direction or the other. We say that either, you know um, we are for diversity, or we are against migration, or we are for the Russians or against the Russians, or you know for Trump, against Trump, all these things. There's always very opposite sides that we can take, and we hate everybody who's taking the opposite side of the one that we are on. So in this situation, we can pin all the bad, all the destruction of the world, all the suffering on this bad direction that the other person might be in, and point our finger at the other person and say, you are the cause of suffering in the world and the cause of destruction, the war, and you should change so that we can all be in a good situation and in peace. And um, in this way, we start fighting one another, and that is the tactics that the forces that were governing the world for such a long time are using to create unrest, war, hate, rather than us understanding the other person as just as much a child of God as I am, and we are all kind of in this chaos together, because the chaos is created by 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 forces that have governed this planet for such a long time, very intentionally. And So don't fall into that trap. It's not us versus them. And I even mean that thinking about the forces that have governed the planet. It's not even us versus them either, because peace happens, first of all, inside myself. And when you externalize the bad and you can put your finger on someone and say, you are responsible for it, then I stop needing to look inside of myself. Where can I be a better person? How can I love my neighbor? How can I show uh, respect, um, to a different opinion, for example? So we are right now bombarded with so many news and natural catastrophes and everything. Every day something else is happening, blackouts in countries or regions, and um, yeah, war scenarios. Anyway, don't want to get into this. um, and That is a lot of distraction that always directs our attention somewhere where it's really not useful. And when we start observing situations rather than investing in emotion, we neutralize it. And that is a tool that is very much underestimated. Observation is um, basically something like a magical wand. When you observe a situation to the extent that you really, really concentrate it, you help neutralize it and bring it to a 0 point. And those who call themselves light workers are actually also darkness eaters, because when you focus on a situation, when you really concentrate on a situation and you are able to remain in a space of um, inner peace and even love, then you help this situation to disappear. And it's just like wiping it off the cardboard, erasing it off the cardboard. So, um, also, observing our bodies is very, very helpful in not getting completely tossed about by our emotions. And when we observe our bodies, just observe every physical situation, the air on the skin, the ground beneath our feet, whatever we hear or feel with our senses. That is something that we have not really explored yet to the extent that it could um, show us what it can actually do. It really is magical tool. So we create our reality by our thoughts and feelings, and every time we invest an emotion in a particular situation that is visible to us, we um, help create it. And if we withdraw this emotion, then we help erase it. So observation really is of major importance for us to get through this shift easier. And it's like we get thinner and thinner, to go through the hole and pop through into the other side, to the other side. And now, in the middle of this transformation, we have um, it's we still have all these attachments to things that we have known that keep us in place somewhere and make us um, unflexible, immovable, um, and so if we want to get to the next level, we need to let go of all these attachments. Right now, we might be in situations oftentimes that we do not feel the motivation to do anything, and that's totally okay. Give into it. If you don't feel like doing anything and you are able to do it, then just do it. I've been doing so much looking into candles lately, not doing anything at all. Because a lot of the motivation that we have is because it has been implanted into our systems to keep us um, in place in a matrix that was running us. And now this motivation is dissolving. Our motivational ties to that system is dissolving because that system is falling apart. So we are left in the air with no motivation anymore. And that's very confusing. We're like, oh my God, what's going on with me? And why am I not motivated to do anything? And why am I not functioning the way that I used to? Why can't I do the things that I used to? Um, we cannot do the things that we are used to because these things are in our whole world is about to transform. It's in the process of transforming, and so are we. So we cannot do anything the way that we used to anymore. And if we try and hold on to and really, really want that old back, the ways that we know, the ways that we used to work, that we used to function, forget it. They're gone. Um, so just relax, And now that the new might not be apparent yet, and we're in this in between phase where we're really totally confused, just let that happen and just observe. Because when you observe, again, you do not invest an emotion in one or the other, and you are flexible and movable. And life can take you, you know. Um, and in these situations where I really don't want to let go, sometimes I think of this song by the Beatles, Let It Be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. And that helps me to let go. Um, there is a strength and a power being awakened inside of you that is stronger than anything you've ever known. And in order for that to happen, we have to become silent and listen. Life can be a raging waters, but if you surrender to it, you form an invincible team. So, with this, I am wishing you a beautiful 2026. And I would love for you to comment on how you experience this situation, how it is for you, and whether this you found yourself in what I said and whether it helped you at all. So, until then, observe. And see you soon. Bye.